Greetings. So I'm Vincent. Thanks for joining me for today's section that is focusing on the canvas, for the penetration testing and the hostile offensive simulating attack. So like what previously being shared in the event page that regarding for these particular sections, we will be covered on the canvas for penetration testing and hostile attack simulations. We will be breaking down the section into three portions. First portion will be on opening and the introductions. Followed with the seminar, what is canvas, the value on the canvas exploit pack, and then the short canvas short walkthrough. Then we will end the section with the Q&A, and then for the how to doing for booking the times, access for the lab that is happening on somewhere next week on the schedule. Let's start. By the way, I'm Vincent. If you never talked with me, meet with me before from the past 16 years with e-spincorp business, I'm the consultant, and then for this canvas is one of the two that we've been training for quite a long history of time. It's just that as long as just like what we carry the Nexus and other very long and establishing tool in the market. Let's go on. I will try to make it as easy to be able for you to digest what it is about, and then to use it for various of your business case in hand. Seminar objective, the participant will acquire knowing what canvas is about, and of course important for you to know what is not for, and then it's called unique features and the functionality, together with a short technical walkthrough to the end of the section. In general, this section we will be recorded. We will be sharing the link for the participant. What is the canvas? It takes around 15 minutes around that to cover. We will borrow some of the content from the pen testing methodology to be help you to understanding more what canvas is as a pen testing tool, because if sometimes people will be misperception, thought that it is the similar like the vulnerability scanner and for vulnerability assessment, where it is not. Then we follow with the one only one is the canvas is what it can do. Time for you to really understood about the value for the canvas exploitation pack. Those pack is actually being used for the purpose for how to forming the various of the use case, and then for the respective industry, how can you use it for the particular of the specific scenario and context for. Then we continue with a short walkthrough, then we have a rapid roll, and then end of the participant. Here for those who tend to booking for the lab access, still provide at the end of the section as well. Okay, this is the opening and the welcome, the main content for how the section it will be flown like. The key content from the topic is mainly divided into the three portions. One is the canvas, the value for the canvas exploit pack, and then the short walkthrough. Closing, if you have any Q&A draw, who are intend to sign up for the lab access after the event. So those details will be given during that particular time. So what is canvas? Before we talk what is the canvas as a pen testing tool, it is important for you to know what is the pen testing is all about first, because only then you will know about what the tool is designed and capable for doing, as well as help to solving for what kind of challenge that those pen testers is involved. Overview, so that you must know about, we will cover a few topics in very quick area, but pen test, internal versus external, and then scope of the test for the stages, pre-info, threat modeling, vulnerability assessment, the exploitation, as well as for the post-exploitation, for the clean up machine, right, and then to perform for the reporting. Most part of the pen testing, the scope and the pen testing plan, usually if you already done it before, you will know that it may not be follow a specific logic flow. You got to be really drawing based on the scope of pen testing. If they say that it's a real more toward the web applications, external or mobile app, or maybe wireless, or maybe for a server pen test, the scope is actually will be more heavy in one part later than another, as well as that there is no even that to be considered is that we need to be ready to be giving kind of the specific concern, like such as section hijacking, to spoofing for the blind hijacking, the packet sniffing. Maybe this is a part of the job the pen tester will be in concern, and due to reason for the complexity of the penetration testing methodologies, the pen tester that in specific, the way they need to use the tool, it will be by nature. It is much more, you can say so, to be differentiate with those people who are get used to using like vulnerability scanner. Mostly do is automatic in nature. Then pen tester team, they may need to jump into one part of the tool, like password cracking, then using the input, then to continue to perform another set of tests. This kind of the more manner in focus is more suitable for the pen tester. To summarizing in what those things that we just been talking, pen testing so is used to identify vulnerability assets in the system. Usually will be using some form of attack method conducted by the trusted individual, whether it's your own staff or maybe it's security officer consultant that you are hiding from outside. Typically we call it as a pen tester, or maybe you call it ethical hackers. The typical thing that it will involve from not just a scanning of the IP, but as you can say that you will say for just a simple scan of IP address to identify for the vulnerability, those called vulnerability assessment is not penetration testing. It will be usually a result of the testing. The result of those testing will be documented and presented the report to the owner of the system that the vulnerability can be resolved. So in a very quick, you must understanding for pen testing, there is no last forever. Usually it is an attempt to breach the security for a network or the system. It is not a security audit. Provide a security exposure overview for a single moment of time. Also at the same time that the pen testing, why some company will have pen testing, some don't have, for those who use it, is usually is to want to increase the upper management awareness of the security issue and import to prioritize the decision-making process. Because for me, it's very simple to justify. Let's say a vulnerability scanner gives you 100 vulnerability, but for all the company, you do not have the unlimited time and resources to really go to fixing 100 vulnerability. Instead, for the top management or any viable businessman, we will always be focusing on what is the most likely or create the most likely impact, the vulnerability, and that can be exploited, can showing one to be prioritizing the resources. Then we are using the pen testing. In other words, for most of the company, is to try to validate and verify that the specific vulnerability that being identified really can be exploitable. Because if not, you highlight 100, actually all is the wasting of everyone's time. So this way that the pen testing can be used for that way. Canvas is one of the pen testing tools widely used for pen testing area include on the scope of the engagement that in the sole view of the chart that I just mentioned about in all those areas. So you can using all those to be based on the thing to be covered. So one area for you to understanding canvas compare with the rest, especially when the time you start to using it, it is not a vulnerability assessment tool. What if at this point you don't still know what the differentiate, right? VA2 is mainly to focusing on cover as many security weakness as possible. I would say so is cover on the Remark, right? Cover as potential as possible. However, for the pen testing, the focus is different. The focus is based on that you want to check and then to be focusing on a deep on the specific of the exploit that you are really able to breaching the system, because the pen testing is not start from vulnerability assessment and stop with the report. It actually will continue from, let's say that I was using, let's say, using the NASA scanning report as an import into the pen testing tool. I will focusing on which of the few highlight of the exploit that it can be fully able to execute the exploit based on that my tool have a specific vulnerability exploit library in my hand. I execute the exploit to test and confirm whether that specific of the exploit is really can be executed or not to conclude of the pen testing exercise. Of course, another quick, easier way to be differentiate is about using this kind of diagram. You can see so that we're focusing on the different portions, so that usually it is more intrusive in nature on the pen testing, because you breach a system. You will really try to focusing on the steal the data. Maybe that you were also, as a part of the campaign, you were running the Trojan, all those things into the system, and then you try to secure for the second time. You came back into the same machine to continue for the rest of the activity you want to do for the exploiter. It will be having use of a lot of tools. It is why we call pen testing. Usually is using of a switch of the tool. It is not focusing on a single particular area in specific. Based on the diagram I used before, the degree of the automation, you can say so. Most of the VA2, if we have been using it for quite some time, you notice that most of them, well, vulnerability assessment, usually we call those scanner. Scanner is mostly one you configure is quite automatically to be run, because it was running based on a set of standard script that already in place with certain parameters. However, when the time you talk about pen testing, the focusing point is less on automate and more manual to be make use of some of the tool to be using to execute for the campaign, or maybe the red team exercise that you try to achieve something. This is why that you can see the brief and lead also is one of the dimensions that you can be focusing on to see how it is different compared with all those statistics. Another way also, the use of the pen testing tool, the audience usually for those that do for internal, mostly is the enterprise customer. How to say so? They are to determine what vulnerability exists. This is one of their core priority to be trying to duplicate the efforts that recently terminated employee may take while attempt to access a very good information. This is one of the pen testing case, right? So that the concern mostly from those is to be used as the internal tool. However, for pen testing, there is another subset of the customer is really interested to be used as an external pen testing tool. Those is the typical security consultant, the pen testers. They are securing a pen testing job based on scope of the services. Then they will be need to use from a set of the tool to carry out. They are not just the vulnerability assessment, push stop and generate the report, show people. They need to demonstrate that each of the vulnerability they highlight in the report, rather than they can be demonstrated for the exploit and capture some proof of concept of the screenshot to be put into their report. And then, of course, as an external, then their scope of engagement will widely depend on the scope of testing that we will be using. In a very quick to highlight until now, see that from the pen testing, based on the type of the use case that you want to be achieved, or the particular user want to achieve. Some is trying to doing for the objective compliance, some is for reduce the deduction, and of course, certain tool will have certain kind of pro and con. And pen testing tool is mostly will use like the black box. Like automatic assessment, usually VA tool usually will be part of the process, but it's not the completely. This is why you will notice that pen testing tool usually able to import vulnerability assessment report from the scanner. This is the main of the reason. But of course, you talk about code and review. Those you need to have a secure code review tool to do so. Infrastructure review, it depends on how much information you collected. Why we continue with the PTES? Because we using this. Why I want to talk all those the methodology first? Because it will easier for you to fit in what the pen testing tool like Canvas is using for. They have a lot of modeling assets in the market. This is just one of it. They call it a pen testing execution standard, because he tried to divide the particular process into few of the very useful keyword here: be engagement, interaction, intelligence gathering, threat modeling, post-exploitation, vulnerabilities assessment, and the reporting. Because I don't explain in deep, because we don't have time, I just quickly go over. Be engagement, of course, then you got to understanding for the scope. Using them, you need to know, like let's say, that denial of service testing allowed to do or not, as well as the specific IP range and domain, what a specific rule or engagement can do at what time cannot do. During the pen testing, you will start to collecting intelligent gathering of the knowledge, I call it the knowledge, so that you will get it. You were using a lot of the tool to be trying to do some footprinting, or maybe you try to go into the social network, Facebook, all those things, try to getting some people sensitive information in some general thing that you want to know. Try to getting from the IP, and then what range of IP they will have. All those thinking that we call it for the intelligent gathering. Threat modeling, different industry, different applications, we have a different threat ranking and scoring. It is no have such thing called automatic you can do. You got to follow some of the industry threat modeling standard, right? You will try to mapping, or maybe to create a custom one to be useful for your own case. To be understanding what is the threat that will be coming from, then you from there to create the attacker path that you may want to be testing. That because though is maybe is a potential risk coming from where and so on. They have all kind of VA. Some VA is focusing on network equipment. Some is for the server in specific. Some is for web application. Even with some is focusing on the database and so on. Right? Those kind of scanner, whether active, passive, basically is a help you to surface understanding for what the vulnerability exists, or maybe what specific application version is using to mapping for your exploit. Because your exploit, then you take part. Then you will be tailored for the exploit. You won't be trying to like the machine gun to be trying to go through the entire library to be testing on specific application, because if you say in the real life, you don't have that time for you to go through the entire library. This is why that you got to have some time to fully understanding. let's say there is a window exploit or Unix exploit or specific version of Windows, then you will be filtered according to only testing for what is relevant to the specific target machine. Then, of course, after you exploit, then the post-exploit is basically mean you have breached the system. After breach, what you want to do? Well, usually, typically, one thing is to persistent, is to secure for the proofing. Then on future, you can come back to the same place. So you got to loading something into the victim machine, either through the memory, either through the disk. Right? For example, this is one of it. Of course, one of it is definitely you got to print screen or correct some data in the machine, especially after you being escalated as an administrator, right? So you may try to correct some data, because this is also a proof that you have been penetrated the system. In one step is about the reporting. You got to capture some screenshot, highlight about what have been tried, what been successful, what is not successful. Because those things is very time consuming if you say you got to stop down to writing in paper. So the system himself is not able to help you based on what your time or the so-called the section of the pen testing, right? That you been do, what successful, no successful, all captured into a report for you, right? Then you can afterward extract out the report. You can editing, let's say later on in the Microsoft Word, that should be recovered into the report you need with all the things to save your time. Because none of the pen tester want their time wasting too much on the preparing how to writing a report. The report, all the raw data must be inside for them, and this is one of the common things, because their time it should be focusing on hacking, not on paperwork, all those things. And that's why the reporting is one of the things typically that they want to be covered. So for the canvas, it basically compared with most of the tool is highlighted as the penetration testing tool. But for canvas, it being highlighted beside as a penetration testing tool, it is also highlighted being an exploit development and defense testing tool. What the difference it is, most of the tools in the market, those the branding and pen testing tool, you cannot develop and then to be marketing the exploit. Let's say that you have been carving out. So this is why you will notice that the canvas, besides being used by pen testing tool, people need the pen tester, right? It is also heavily made use by the researcher. Of course, the researcher we're talking about is, let's say, like the malware researcher. They want to writing the script, the testing the script to be how can it exploit something, then to execute. So they can using the canvas to carve and create all those exploit. If really becomes something so branded and reputable, then usually in the canvas, it is what we call canvas exploit pack is all about. It is about those human, is those the human professional in the respective field that they are spending their lifetime into, let's say, on the SCADA industry for 20, 13 years. So from their job is a pen testing all those SCADA systems. Of course, that he will come up with a lot of a very unique way how to testing all those things. So from those rest of people who want to do, let's say, like SCADA in the industry, usually what we need to do is to extend the functionality on canvas to cover the specific like the SCADA related equipment and automate machine, right, with those additional of the exploit. This is because when you talk pen testing, one of the things of the key value, no one will say that they have the exploit for anything. No one has. Then the exploit that it work at one time, it may not work overnight. For instance, let's say that they have a one specific window vulnerability. that being retained 0 day, right? But Microsoft will not say let it to be forever. It definitely will patch the system 1 day. Then afterward, the exploit cannot use. This is why that in this industry, those the private 0 day exploit is highly valuable. That a lot of people waiting to trading for a price, including of those unpatchable system or software. I mean, unpatchable means that they have no way to be patched. While when the time you know it cannot be patched, then if you have that right exploit, basically mean that you already almost that can ensure you can be access to all those systems. And so this is why you see how come those exploit packs sometimes the pricing is so premium, because they have some value they are asking for those who need it. Back to it, Canvas is a pen testing 2-in-1 tool I just mentioned. What is it can do, it cannot do, you must be know. First, it is, of course, is a pen testing tool. It comes with a range of around 800 of exploit. That it comes with an exploit. You have command to run on node. Now, you were running the CML, the command line, because basically the tool is running in the most different is a Python C compiler. So that it basically will running on the Python script. They have a various tool like you can import the vulnerability scanning result from some of the common well-known one. If you know enough, you can even further extend it with the CEP, the Canvas exploit pack. He had the tool for do the recon and discovery of the IP, auto access, all those things. And then there are some exploit that is concentrate on doing for deny of service. He have the listening shelf and then the server module. This tool is needed because that later on you want to running for the command change and control. Then you, let's say you throwing the Trojan into outside through the email or website affect people, right? You want all of them call back to one of the specific of your IP, right? So you need to listening to all those things that you already penetrate, and then you can control from there. The server, in particularly, they have one thing we call it strategic canvas. We're using to do for the red teaming, the teamwork, okay. And then for import the report and export the report for the paperwork processing, all those things. Okay, Canvas interface, it is not a web-based application. I would say so. None of in the market will call they are web-based interface, because the client base, I call it the client base, because those things typically will install into the operating system the pen tester using. Let's say install in their Windows 10 professional, right? Or maybe Linux like Ubuntu, like Kali Linux, because it's with the range of the tool is a very ideal running with it inside. For now, Macintosh is used to before base server, because base server start to converting into the silicon, all those things. And then they have a few of the module that is needed is already no more in activity development. So at this point of time, even so that the Macintosh, the Mac, you can run Canvas, but it will not landing the GUI look standard like the rest of the Windows or the Linux you look like, because the GUI, the interface, the particular module that the Canvas depend on it to landing for the GUI, right? It is no more activity developed in the Mac by those respective community members. But for those hardcore one, yes, it can run, but you need to have a skill to know how to tune for the graphic portion. Action Bridge security strategy is most of the company nowadays is practicing. Even Microsoft itself is also doing this. So Prevent Bridge, it was doing like the threat modeling, doing for assumed breach is will be assume that the system already breached. Is that you don't know? Actually, a lot of the big case that you notice now in the world, some say, oh, now that we find out, actually the system have been breached for 1 year, right? A lot of big case like this, because those people execute the job so nicely that no one had been detected that they have been breached for quite a long time. How many of the data was during the period of time until they find out those evidence and recache. So, okay, one of the key ways to explain about what Canvas can do is actually through this what we call it the red team operation and cyber kill chain. This is one of the model nowadays also very popular. We talk about what the red team operation, the stage of all those thinking to be, right? Is includes of a recon to see the correct information, and then to weaponize, to attempt or develop a suitable exploit code for the target system, then deliver the payload code, then create, and then choosing for the delivery mean to the email, web, USB, all those thinking. Then you perform the exploit. Then you are installing the malware, Trojan, all those things to maintain the constant access to it, and so on until the last on the action on the objective make the foothold persistent, because you want to come back to it. You want to do previous escalation, lateral movement, data extraction, and so on. So what I will do, I will be sharing with you. You can see for Canvas. Canvas we are talking because now we are talking about the Canvas. Can be related to this particular module and the criteria. Sorry. Okay. So from the Canvas, according to just the industry, the CRTO, we call it Cyber Red Team Operation CRTO, the criteria. Because most of the people, when the time they buying those two, they are based on certain criteria, right? From the like CR01, all those thinking, like the documentation. Canvas is provide mostly of their documentation. You will notice that you're trying to Google it, you very hard to find a lot of information, but because mostly they were done through is through the video and movie. Unless you say it's a very basic one, then you can see those tutorial document and so on. User interface. The user interface depend on, because you want to compare with Windows-based one, of course, it looks like a bit of out-faction, because in the first place, the Canvas is designed to be cross-platform to the Python. Any device that you can fulfill the requirement, practically you can run it. So that it's a bit of illegal and disorganized for those things here. Sometimes people talk about this to the current callback and then the current target talk. It can be changed. It cannot be changed. It is to be highlighted for you to be used. This is one of the thing here. It is a look for the new beginner will little harder to use for new user. However, for those who are, let's say, have been experienced like using the Linux or those two alike, then you will get used to knowing, wow, you will like how it can be used, and then cross you with the rest of the tool that to perform for all the execution that you may need one to be. So listener shall also think like what you mentioned here is need you to find some time for it to work, especially for new people. You got to know present what all those information is for what purpose. So then for the keyword listener shells, Canvas won't match with the IP address for the geography situation awareness. For you to want to make this work, you got to using the third party, the Geo IP library to be ping that specific of the IP in the world map, so you can know in specific where it is. The feature is there. but you need to connect to using this third-party joint IP to correcting the IP from where they are, right, in the part of the world, in specifically location for you to pin them into the world matter. So implementation, the canvas is built based on Python is very important, and then is a user interface is built based on PyGTK. The thing that I just mentioned about the math one is this portion. This particular module is being long time no one has been updated. That's why that if you try to run it in math, even if you fulfill all the requirements, it will look no as nice like compared with running in Linux or even in the Windows. So okay, so the payload is utilized for the mostly basically it's the custom C compiler, right? That is for you to running for either you build it yourself your own Python script, or it's those in the library exploit script that you want to use. It will allow user to inject code in the exploit process, right? So system update, software easy to make online because user provide an option for this. Offline function is not available. It basically means that every time, let's say the system you every month, so you test it, it will detect that they have a new version. Then you got to download it to be make your exploitation library more up to date. Database, Canvas do not using database because it's a Python based, or it's a really you know the Python, then you know it's all mostly is a text script along all the entire folder and a lot of a subfolder of that. So user session data can be made stored into clear text and then restore when needed. There is one thing that sometimes people ask about source code, Vincent. Well, in the Canvas scenario, because it's Python is being used, so basically that you can see for the code that used to doing for the exploit. Of course, you can modify it for the different purposes. Recall when the Canvas is launched, it will be starting automatically sniffing the IP from the connected network. This is not very useful when you compare in the cyber reclaim operation. Of course, this thing you can disable if this is not what needed to be used features. There are all 14 recall module available, include for print stripping. Basically, all those is a scanning. If you take note about those things, scanning and the TCP port scanning, is all is trying to identify for what device IP is using. So also have some OSINT module like DNS discover, blah blah blah, all those things. Because let's say that if you using in the like the current Linux, of course inside you will extend you with even further range of the pentesting tool. You can be cross used with the Canvas because they have a lot of tools inside as well. It do not have any web application vulnerability scanning because it is a pen testing tool. It is not the web vulnerability scanner. Well, from the web one, if we want to using the free one, well, they have a lot of open source one, as well as even like Bubsheet. Well, because I have some limitation, but for those who need a good one, you can use it together with, let's say, like the Bubsheet Pro to complement that part. But if you say you want to do for the web application penetration, then they have one framework you can use inside the CEP that to make the Canvas become one tool to cover also for the web application. But those we talk it later on. So okay, it is also possible for you to import external tool. Well, MN I no need to mention is an open source library factors. Nexus, NetExplo, Quali. This is a top 3 brand that divided the whole market share. All those reports you can be imported into Canvas and continue do for your exploit exercise later on. They have around over 800. The reason why no specific, because no one can go specific how many. They can say roughly 800 because even then he will keep expanding as more and he has. No one will really go to count, especially when on future you access to the tool, you know already. There is no way you can count how many. It's just too many, right? So for the Windows, Linux, Unix, of course it was divided according to the platform, because like certain exploit it work only for Windows, some work for the Linux, some for Unix, some is for Mac and specific version and so on, and some is for web application. It also have the third-party company. We will provide the exploit pack for Canvas. Those pack is actually being used by those for the scenario like to extend the functionality, because that they have a lot of specific use case. We will need to have the so-called the private zero-day exploit, right, to be able to penetrate those systems, because Canvas is just a system. We need to have an exploit, especially those that less people to know exploit to be working on. For let's say like Scala is one of it, or healthcare industry is another, as well as for those unpatched one. So I jump because there's no way I can finish this by reading one. So this is what is being covered for the exploit. Previous escalation. You have around 20 of modules you can do to promote from to become, let's say, the normal user, become a super user. Well, then is to be available again to various of the different platform. Data expectation, you need to extract those data. You can done it through the listener shell, one that you already penetrate. You can use it to execute the command, then to compile all the information you needed, and then to send it back to you. Persistent, only persistent module provided. It is for the WMI brief persistent for the Windows host. Lateral movement, I mean the jump node, because sometimes from big network, you may need to penetrate some in the middle machine, and then using that machine to help you to further penetrate for the machine after that. Yes, they coming with those two can do it, and then the parent Envision. Okay, Canvas do not provide any Envision module, because instead of giving you this, he give you a bar that you can score from left to right, from the cumulus, it means that to running as difficult to detect as possible. So this is what they did. Compatible with the other two, so that it will using import from external tool, such as from the NetMap, Nessus, Explore, Quali, all those things. Teamwork, by default, you don't come with support ticket, all those things, because it's not designed to use that way. However, what I want to show you is the so-called strategic canvas. It is for red teaming, and the situation, and then the reporting. Okay, you can have the reporting. The reporting is whatever thing you done during that section, he will set into the open office file. So that means that in, let's say, the Linux, you need to have open office to open it. Then open it, of course, you can convey to Microsoft Word, no issue. So I will jump back again to, okay, Canvas strategy. You can play around this feature. You need at least 2 licenses, right? 1 license is a commander. 1 more person will be need to assign is the operator. So that 2, you can working as a team for engagement. Especially we talk about the red team exercise, we need a lot of people working together. Maybe someone try to do something, try to making the noise to try to attack the hacking people firewall, attract all the people attention there. Someone else do something in a different angle to try to hack the specific enterprise, right? So then as a commander, then you can have the chart, and then you can see all the section of all those things as a commander, how you want to do. This is the features called Canvas Strategic. It's already built in, but single license you cannot play. You need at least 2 licenses. The more, then you can have a 1 commander, more operator. So we jump. Canvas, the red one is what Canvas can do. This is what I say, module, all those thinking, you execute. Blue is what you know about, the intelligence you collect. Everything you execute, then you know more thing about the machine. Then here is about what it's doing at that particular time, the stated, what being executed, all those thinking. So this is what the module I want to highlight about. Every new month, the module will be highlighted here. Subsequent month, he's moving to somewhere else already. Then the Canvas exploit, integrate exploit pack, and for those that sign up for additional CEP, right? All will be shown under this particular folder. And some of the comments, some of the Trojan, like for you to do phishing or you create a binder, create a Microsoft Word document, you injecting the code inside to try to look it like some organization official letter. You want fool some people go to open and read it, right? Then it's already affected their machine and so on. The Trojan now is so-called. So deny on service, you try to bring down those things. And then some of the things, server report that we mentioned already, recon through phishing too, and so on. So in summary, what the Canvas is, it is an exploitation system. It is single install license, allow unrestricted, no target IP address limitation. This is one of the unique points, especially when you compare with some license. They try to license you by how many IP different pricing one. Yes, this is one of the differentiate point. Currently, they have an 800 plus exploit. But of course, when you try to talk about the pen testing, we need a lot. Especially is not a lot. We need a lot of high quality private, less people know exploit that work in certain specific application system or unpatched one, right? So those things you got to sign up for the Canvas exploit pack to be make it more useful than before. And of course, I told before, one thing different is that it allows you to make the custom exploit. This is why you see a lot of Canvas exploit pack selling in the market by those professionals, because this is what it is for. Okay, the value for the CEP from all of the use case, I would say so. Canvas is very affordable. The pricing is very affordable. Sometimes the exploit pack is even more pricey than the base license to be. You must think about the Canvas is like a Lego block set. So most of the customer, when they try to think about Canvas, it's something like this, Everyone, they were getting a very different set of Canvas because they will have a base license together with some of the exploit pack relevant, tailored for their own use case. Because if you won't have this portion of the CEP, it makes you very general, right? I don't see, because first you have very less usable exploit. CEP, what a value is because that those workable exploit is between those packs. So I give an example. Standard one, people nexus flow Canvas. Yeah, you can use this way. Is one way to doing it. But you can also add in the D2 pack. With the D2 pack or Canvas D2 pack or with the other vulnerability scanner, with this way you have given the Canvas to help you to do for vulnerability exploitable verification auto workflow, automatically exploit for you from the, let's say, the Nestor or whatever thing the supported the quality and net explorer based on the report. It will auto highlight to you which of the respective exploit in red color you can execute to test it immediately, instead of wasting the time to run again the Canvas for those thinking. So in other way, it saves the time for people, and at the same time as expand the Canvas exploit library. And for the another, it's just an example. So also popular for people to do for the web application penetration testing. E-Real will be one of it that you needed. But you have D2, you can execute the heroic thing to the canvas to maintain a single unified exploit testing system to cover the domain for web. Not just talk about assessment, we talk about web application penetration testing, hack we're talking. So same thing here we go. Okay, we same thing here we're talking about is, let's say, like for SCADA system. SCADA system is using by a lot of industry, whether you have need to automation for the water system, wastewater, electric, oil and gas, power, manufacturing plant, food plant, mass transit system, and so on, all will leveraging the SCADA system. So for those people, one thing they're really concerned is how likely people to exploit their SCADA system. So this is why this also is very popular for people to be used together with it. Other thing that to be covered on will be, let's say, for the DFPAC. DFPAC stands for Defense Software. Some people were interested to testing for antivirus, intrusion detection and prevention system, firewall, endpoint protection software, and so on, right? Then, of course, you need to have this DFPAC running inside the canvas to extend that functionality. Right? Let's say that they will be installed their McAfee. They want to test McAfee, right? Then you need to have this, right? They are using the Samantha, right? So same thing here, right? You need to have that. Same thing here, we go on, just a quick one. For internal, let's say that want to testing for the network protocol file format testing, then you need to have a portable. At the same time also, for those people who want to test for unpatchable vulnerability, right? For all those no software, client-side and server-side vulnerability, yes, you need Volesco, right? This is just some of the quick way is being, what is the canvas? What the canvas CEP come into the pictures, that like this diagram in the early I mentioned about. So now we cover these two already. We do a quick cover few of the important to the short walkthrough on the thing you need to know. CEP can mix and match. Actually, when you mix and match, it will making it a very unique offer that no one can be, because it's a tailor-made already, so it's difficult to compare. So we will be cover the feature for the auto import and then the canvas strategy. You for a second.
Hello everyone, my name is Alex M. I'm an engineer here at Immunity, and today we're going to be taking a look at a Canvas feature that's been in the main version of Canvas for quite a while now, but you may not know too much about. We used to call it Canvas Strategic, and it was sold as a separate product, but now it's been integrated into the mainline release of Canvas, and has been for, probably about a year or so. So what this does is it allows, or I should say it answers, Immunity's requests for collaboration from Canvas customers. So what we have is a way that you can use Canvas across your team and communicate the results as they happen to a central node, share data, and all this other sort of stuff. So let's take a look at some really basic architecture. So here on the left, we have a server that's running Canvas Commander. Here in the middle, we have two operators. That's what we call them within the GUI and the configuration that are running Canvas on two different versions of Linux. And then we have some targets that they may be interacting with. So let me go ahead and introduce the different virtual machines. So this here is going to be our Canvas Commander. This is running Ubuntu 12.04. Runs on any real modern Linux, but just to differentiate. So we're going to go ahead and let's start Canvas Commander. Very simple. We go to Control, Start Canvas Commander, and as you can see, no one's connected to us yet. Nothing is really going on. So let's go ahead and change that. So one thing to mention is that Canvas Commander uses two default ports, 4445 and 4446. Now, encryption is not included as part of Canvas Commander, so we recommend that you use SSH. And to that extent, I've written up just a really brief little command line script that will do this tunneling for us automatically. It relies on the fact that I have a user account on the Canvas Commander machine, just as a regular user. I don't need root or anything like that. So let me just go ahead and kick this off. And there we go. So now on Alice's virtual machine, this happens to be Fedora. We'll go ahead and kick off Canvas. And now I'm going to pop over here to Bob's virtual machine. And I'm going to do the same thing. Now, they're separate SSH users. They don't have to be in theory. But, you know, I just did that for simplicity. So kick off that script again. You can see I'm logging in with the Bob account. And now let's go ahead. Start up Canvas. So once Canvas is started, which it should be over on Alice's machine, we have to do a little bit more configuration. So let's go ahead and expand this VM just a little bit. Give us some more breathing room with Canvas. Hopefully Fedora, there we go, will cooperate. So we go to configuration, and we're going to give ourselves an operator alias. In this case, we will be Alice. We'll say OK. And then we'll go ahead and start the operator. And now you can see I have this little connected icon over here, and I have two new tabs. I have chat, and I have command log. Let's go ahead and do the same thing. We'll expand this virtual machine just a little bit. Over here on Bob's version of Canvas. And for some reason, this is not liking me, but that's all right. We can go to the configuration. We can put in Bob. We can say OK. We'll go and we'll start the operator. Give this one more shot at expanding. There we go. All right, now let's take a look at the Canvas commander view. So as you can see here, we have Alice and Bob, both are connected. And if I look at Alice and Bob, I can see what they see in Canvas at any given time. Now, we haven't done anything, so we don't have any history. We don't have a whole lot of knowledge outside of some DNS services and such that Canvas automatically picks up. So let's go ahead and change that. So let's say I want to join, let's say in a particular engagement, right? We have this chat feature. So what I can do is I can join an engagement-specific channel. So I'm going to say I want to join the demo channel, and I'll pop in to the demo channel. This works pretty much like you would expect IRC to work. It's not a full IRC server or client, but everything pretty much is about the same. So I can pop back over here to Canvas, and I can see, right, it looks like you would expect IRC to look. So let's go to Alice, and let's bring up a host. So we're going to run a module. In this case, we'll run WP Finger against 10.10.201.153. So I'll just configure that module to run. And let's monitor my Canvas log. And we'll check in as the module makes progress. Make sure our VM is up. Yep. And we can see we come back with the correct answer, right? It's WordPress 3.8. So if I pop over here to Canvas, we pick on Alice, history, I can see she ran this particular module. I can see which she found out and how the module was run. And I can also see the results from that module. So now, let's say I would communicate this to Bob, and let's say I want Bob to actually do the exploitation. So Bob will say, okay, let's try WP Symposium. That's going to be a good, reliable exploit against WordPress. I see that, so let's pop over to Canvas log. Let's double click. Okie doke. And now, if you're familiar at all with Canvas, you can tell this is the standard PHP startup that we're usually getting. So I can go ahead and close my listener shell because I've got this. And now if I come back, let's see. So nothing on Alice's view has changed because Alice hasn't done anything else. But if I go over to Bob, I can see I've got myself a new shell with Canvas. If I take a look at my history, I can see I ran this particular module and the options I ran it with. And in this case, it was successful. So this is just some of the stuff that you can do with Canvas Commander, Canvas Strategic. Another really cool option is the replay feature, which we'll get into probably in a later video because it deserves its own. But this is a really cool piece of collaboration software that comes directly in your version of Canvas, and it's available for you right now. And you go ahead and download it as you see fit. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, you can reach us.
Okay, that one I hope very quickly to tell you about the value and the differentiator as well. That how Canvas 2 license or more license you can using to doing something better as a team, the red team we are talking in particular about. Another quick one is about the auto exploit features that we using Quali, the online version, and local it work almost the same. So you just need to see, let's say you with the D2, what is the way you integrate. Like this one is a D2 Quali Report Analyzer. He will download from online, because Quali is cloud-based, so that their one is online. But of course, you can also save into the local file, then you import as well. But here it's showing you one way is online, then you download the particular report, and then to how auto it is to save a lot of time from the user to manually doing all those things. So now he getting the report in hand. He select. So he will be trying to analyzing the report. Then that is why they call analyze for. Okay, because he will after analyze, he giving you some of the IP, especially those with the red color one. That means that the D2 have a very specific of the exploit. You can testing it immediately instead of wasting time for it. So all those things you can be able to testing it immediate. Right? So just double click whatever thing here, then you just continue the thing is working like. So here immediately will open for you, then you just need to be continue in the using the canvas to execute the particular exploit from there. This is how the integration saving the time for the people. Like you see all those with the D2 underscore one is the D2 exploit. What it do, the lucky draw, is the same. We were giving away private notebook in black color. We're gonna giving away in the black one. Of course, as usual, we are based on who is still at the moment is still online. Then that we will be random using the random name picker to be generate the name and then to give it away. So if we don't have your address, then the officer will be contact you either this week, either next week. Then he will ship it to you. So wait a moment. Let me see who is here. Let's start the name packing. Hey, David. Okay. Okay, David, I will send it to you shortly. One more thing we continues from...
Hello?
David.
Because last seminar I got lucky draw already. Maybe I would
you
like
pass
to try.
someone you like. I think so to be fair. Because you can pass to someone you like to be appropriate.
Okay.
Because for me, you are lucky one, double lucky. I can't say anything.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You should buy some number, if a country have.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Okay, optional lab access. I do encourage you all to be, because no matter how, the 1 hour I cannot cover you a lot of things in deep. I want you, if possible, you please sign up for next week. I will open it for the Monday to Friday, the normal business day and hour. I think you sign up to log into the Canvas, have a look, just by driving the car, you know about what's inside. Even from Canvas, you can use it. You already know already what it can use, especially the one I highlight in the left-hand side, what it can do. It is important. You need to know. I hope so. What we do is that you need to have the AnyDesk because I'm on that. It will install in the Kali Linux 2021-2, the latest one. The Canvas will install inside. Then you can see how Canvas is using inside the pen testing. The whole OS is a pen testing one, right? So you can have a lot of tools. This is the most ideal of the use case, especially for those hardcore one. Most likely the use case will be installed in the virtual machine because why virtual machine? Most of people still install as a real OS because inside like the Canvas, you will have a lot of module. It's very hostile. I will say so-called. Antivirus will be trigger alarm to say that it will already detect something very dangerous. You need to remove it or whatever. This is one reason. Secondly, is to prevent that accidentally being execute something in real life that makes some impact. So this is why usually most of people will running in the virtual machine. So since virtual machine, compare Vincent, I want to run Windows, you can run Windows, no issue, Windows Pro 10, right? But only one thing you must know if you are the hardcore pen testers, you know what is the limitation for Windows, the section control is about, that in the Linux they don't have that control, right? So, and then let's say you ask me, let's say I will install, I would think that a more logical choice will be the Kali Linux, install Canvas inside because you immediately have a range of the additional tool that you have to play around and use it together. Because I told you already, it is purely for hacking purpose, so that you have all the tools in one OS is much more useful. Because as you know, Windows, they have certain tool is not available in Windows platform, especially for hacking one. You got to using like the Linux. If not, then the Ubuntu also is one of the good choice, but it's just that you may need to tune to have the rest of the tool to be available in Ubuntu. There is only the differences. Closing remark. We hope the 1 hour seminar and one more additional lab access provide you first exposure to the seminar target content as per someone is asked earlier, and here is to build up your content understanding and apply in your own use case and the business case engagement. I will be sending the email out to asking those participants, okay, are you one? Then I will give you some timetable. Then you just let us know what time you need. Then I will be giving you the pin, AnyDesk the pin, right? Then you can access during that time to have yourself see around, just using a mouse to play around it. Because I think this is more than for you to learn about it. So once again, I thank you for everyone time. We were ending the section from here.